So,
Okay.
Gareth, I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. I've
Well,
been looking forward to it for a long time.
I have been too, and it's going to be interesting to see the outcome of this, and it's going to be interesting to see individuals' response to it.
So, you're running for mayor.
I am, and that's a big decision. Wasn't really thinking about running for mayor. I was thinking more about getting folks to run on council. And one day, someone pointedly said, "Why aren't you running for mayor?" Oh, well, just a minute now. I'm just trying to get good people into council. Uh, they said, "Well, you seem to be a good person. Why can't?" Well, I don't think of myself in those terms, other than I try to be a good person. So we spent a lot of time, my wife and I and my family, discussing this. And as time went on, and talking to business people and friends in the city, it became quite apparent that I had to put my money where my mouth was.
Hmm.
And I have something to give. From my background, I have a lot to give.
So, what is your background? Like, I know that you were in management of some sort and that you were a business owner.
Yes.
So,
I,
what did you spend all your younger years?
well, so, as a young person, we started our family quite young. And in those days, you either worked or you starved. And so I decided, I started sweeping floors basically. And I wound up as a journeyman millwright, and in the logging business, in the gas and oil, and eventually gravitated to more forestry than gas and oil. And that's where I rose through the ranks from being a millwright to a general manager, area manager, senior manager of sawmills, one of the largest pelleting mills in the world in Burns Lake. And so I've worked in all the three Western provinces in a management position as a small business owner. Um, we've always had been in a political life. I've worked with the government in BC, and Christy Clark and her group, and I worked here in the province of Alberta, which started with Peter Lougheed. And there's a story that goes on that as well, because Alberta here was the first of my organized political involvement. And that came from me being involved with Stockwell Day over in Bentley. I was a journeyman millwright practicing then, and he and I were talking one day, and he said, we should go and put our names forward to sit on the Macomb Panoka Conservative Board. Great. So we did, and we got elected. And then the next thing I know, Stock says, I'm going to do something more. So Stock went and disappeared for a week. And he came back. He said, Gareth, I'm going to move to North Red Deer, and I'm going to run in the next provincial election. And he did. And I co managed his campaign, learned a lot, and he got elected. That was the provincial. And from there, um, I left the province and went to work in British Columbia in a senior management position.
All right, we're back recording.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Hopefully, we don't experience any more glitches here. You were telling a story about your experiences with Stockwell Day.
Yeah. And so Stock carried on in the provincial scene. I moved to BC into a senior management position in Vanderhoof, largest interior sawmill. Um, and I progressed at that point in time, I also had logging equipment and ran my own logging operation while
Hmm.
I was a senior manager in the maintenance and construction part of the sawmill and the company there. And it was, and that's where I really started to learn about corporate financing, corporate budgets, and construction on a large scale. I had previously, just before I left to go to BC, I was the general superintendent building the new sawmill in Sundre. We built that well under budget and well under timeline, and that site has been rebuilt, but it's still operating. So I had been in logging and road construction and all of those things before that. So when I went to BC, I was well versed in what was going on in the forest business and how to run a company. So from there, I moved further north to Smithers, where I took my logging equipment and I went to work as the general manager in native operations, Morristown,
Okay.
had my logging equipment at the same time. So I was responsible in that position for all of the milling, all of the forestry, and all of the selling of the lumber. So it was another learning curve where I learned about profit and loss,
Uh-huh.
where I learned about you do not live beyond your means in any situation.
Yep.
You have to budget and stay within that budget because that in that particular position there was a lot of exterior demands for to change how we were spending money, and I
Uh-huh.
refused to do it. So,
Okay. So
um,
one of the reasons I was really excited to see you running was um, just the fact that so many people, they've been in council for a decade, and then they run, and it's been so long since they've been in the private sector, and it's almost like government makes them forget how to run a business or what actual profit loss looks like, how to pinch pennies when you need to pinch pennies, and to spend appropriately when you have money, so that you don't lose it all. So, what would you say your management style is in that regard? Like, are you a hard hitter? Do you just go after it and you get it done, and no matter what, like, do you just push through everything? I'm just trying to gauge what kind of mayor you would be, because right now we have a soft mayor. I feel that's not a hit towards him. Like, he's a very kind person, but I feel like right now we need something more to enable us to really prosper in Red Deer.
so that is my so what I am is I'm a hands-on inclusive manager.
Okay.
So if I'm managing anything, I'm going to get your input, and we're going to agree on a position,
Yeah.
whatever that is. We're going to follow it, and I'm going to deliver on that position. Unless some emergency comes up that has to change something. But in the meantime, when you are managing a corporation or managing a small business, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
At some point, if you have to change how you're doing your project or your expenditures, thing over here has to stop
Yeah.
because you need the cash over here. You can't just continue and then start borrowing and expect to come out on top. And so I'm the kind of manager that really I'll hold you accountable. I'll give you your outline of your job. I'll equip you to do it, give you your budget, but you better stay on it because people expect me to. And the bottom line is you have to be positive.
Well, especially if you're going to be mayor.
Oh, especially if you're going to be mayor because you got over 100,000 critics. So
Yeah. Yeah. And many people want to see a mayor sort of just be the face of the city. Um, it seems like you want to be a little more hands-on than previous mayors. Um, I know that we have what is it, a CAO, sort of a city manager that's in charge of those things. How do you envision that relationship working going forward? Because it is different It sounds like it needs to be a little different. Um, I don't know how things would have to change personally, whether, people need to change or just the culture needs to change. It's probably a bit of both. But do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that. So, first of all, city council and mayor need to work with the city manager. That's the way the municipal act is set up.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it totally. I think that it's a shared position
Uh-huh.
with the mayor and the city manager. So, being the way it is, you we all need to sit down and work together. Now, in this case, I expect the city manager when we ask for a complete detail of a project or something that council has approved,
Yeah.
I expect to get the complete detail. I just won't want a one-liner. I want the backup behind the line.
Yeah.
And I want those people to be held accountable who are in charge of that.
Uh-huh.
And if they're not, then we have to review what we're doing. And because this isn't working what we got right now. This is tax and spend.
Yeah.
And they've even depleted the 50 million or whatever it was reserve fund.
Yeah.
And they think that's all right. They can have all kinds of excuses, councilmen. You know, when you get um, 30 plus year old provincial um, MLAs or whatever, it is, and people that have been sitting on council for 10, 12 years, you get a stale, ingrained habit of doing nothing. And when you do
Very much
nothing,
agree.
you leave it to the bureaucracy to do it.
Yeah.
And you've been elected by the people to actually run the business of this city as they want it. And right now, they're pretty mad about this, and I don't blame them. I'm mad too. My taxes went up a whole bunch.
One thing that I think about in regards to the way council works, and you can respond to this or not, but the city exists as an individual corporation, and the council is there as the backstop to the people ensuring that the corporation doesn't go too far. And I always, it seems as though the council, they get elected and then they get put into the echo chamber and they think that they are part of this corporation and they forget who they are actually there to serve, who put them there, right? And maybe that's just too simplistic of a analogy, but it's really frustrating to me when you have counselors thinking that they need to represent the corporation rather than represent the people. There is a bit of a mixed bag there where of course you want red tier to look good in a corporate sense, but at the end of the day it's really about the people. Yeah, I mean, you can respond to that or not, but it's just one of those things that I'm constantly thinking about.
Well, it's no different than shareholders. The people and the citizens of Red Deer are the shareholders. These are the people that make the city go. It's their taxes, their efforts that make the city go. So when you get elected, you're electing people to look after those taxes and look after what you ask them to do, the core business of the city, not off developing lands that you have no business developing because you don't have the funds in the first place. So that's I'm absolutely in favor that this needs to be responsible to the citizens. Needs to go back to representing the citizens and asking the hard questions of the bureaucracy. What is going on? What are you doing? We want to see it. And we're not getting that. We're getting the same old answer. Well, that's all we could do. Well, no, it's not. Don't tell me what I can't do. Tell me what I can do and how we're going to do it.
So I cut you off a little bit. My apologies as far as you talking about your background. I didn't give you an opportunity to talk about your family. So if we want to shift back to the
All
way
right.
we started, apologies for cutting you off, but continue your story and explain a little bit about your family life and whatever else you want to talk
Sure. So I'm married to the lovely Janet, and we live here in Red Deer. We're small business owners. We have a very large blended family. Um, so part of that is first I'm a husband, a father, a grandfather, friend, neighbor, and then all of these things make me responsible for a lot of things. And so part of the story as to why I decided to run was my granddaughter, my 20-year-old granddaughter, said to me one day, she says, Papa, when am I ever going to be able to buy a home? I said, well, you're going to have to save. Well, she says, at this rate, I'll be about 40. She said, because I can't afford, when I see the utility bills, I can't afford that. I haven't even got a mortgage. I'm paying a $1,800 a month rent. So that's one of the things that drove me to saying, well, what can I do about changing that so I can get rid of the red tape and all of that? So going back to who I am, I have always been busy. Even if I'm in a management position, in Saskatchewan, I had cattle and bees. And here, right now, I'm a hobby beekeeper. You lost it again?
All right, it's still recording. So sorry. So you're a hobby beekeeper.
Yes, I quite enjoy that. It, you know, you go out and you watch the bees; they work
Yeah.
together. There's a central theme in that hive, and that is the queen is the sets the tone,
Yeah.
and the workers they play to that tune, and they're happy to because they have leadership and they know what they're supposed to be doing, and they are looked after.
Yeah. How many hives do you have?
Well, I've had as high as 1,200.
You've had as high as 1,200. Oh, wow. So I started beekeeping about a decade ago. I have about 5 hives now, but I don't have the time to do it. So I just make sure they're alive and things are ticking right now. But I had up to 50 hives at one point myself,
Yeah.
and what an experience!
Oh yeah.
What an
No,
experience!
I thoroughly enjoy it. My nephew's now moved out here to Panoka, so he's kind of getting all of my hives and stuff
Okay.
shuffled off to him because it in order to do the job right, it's like any job. You have to pay attention
Yeah.
and you have to get it done when it needs to be
Yeah.
done.
Well, and the
So,
thing about beekeeping too is there's a lot of nuance as you open the hive and just the sound,
oh,
right? It's just the sound of the buzzing. It's
yeah,
you open it up, you can tell this hive's got something wrong just by the vibration of the hive.
exactly. We had a swarm come into a swarm hive that I set up in the backyard here.
Yeah.
You can hear it coming 200 yards away.
What an experience, eh?
Oh, we got it on video. And I've heard it wasn't a really big hive, but when you get a or swarm, when you get a very large swarm, you can hear it coming a half a mile away.
Yeah.
It's just like a jet.
I know. There was one time I was out in the field and it wasn't any of my hives, but all of a sudden I look up and there's tens of thousands of bees in the air,
Yeah.
and they come and land on a trailer that's pretty close to me, and I'm just losing my mind because I think one of my hives is swarming, and
Yeah.
but it's a really neat hobby
Yeah.
that I mean you get stung, so that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like politics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? You have
It
to
is.
manage the vibration of the community, and yeah, you're going to get stung sometimes, but
Certainly are. And if you get all high fives, then you're doing something wrong.
sure.
You have to you have to be doing things that people not everybody is happy with because this is a democracy. And in a democracy, the majority rule, and that's good or bad, however you view it. But there's also a point in there where you have to be cognizant of those who are not part of that majority, but who need something else.
Hmm.
And if it's possible, and you can do it within the confines of budgets and your mandate, then you can do that. I'm not going to promise anybody anything other than that I'm going to do the best job I can. I am going to stop the frivolous spending. That is, you wouldn't do that in your family. You would not take and deplete your savings account for a big holiday and come home and find out, "Gee, my basement's flooded, now what am I gonna do?" And that's what they've done here at City Hall. They have depleted that reserve that everyone counted on, and then they don't wanna blame anybody. And so some of the counselors are saying, "Oh, we're gonna rebuild it now." "Really? You've had 4 years. Why haven't you rebuilt it?" "Oh, we're gonna fix the downtown." "You've had 4 years, or 10 years, or 12 years. Why haven't you done it?" So when they tell me that, I'm very skeptical. So I think it needs to change in a big way.
Speaking of downtown, the city recently asked the province to remove the drug consumption site. Very controversial on both sides. I mean, I know where I stand on it. Where do you stand on it?
Needed to be removed. That was just an enablement in my mind. Now, a lot of people are gonna yell about that word, but that's what it is. And when you don't leave the honey jar out the table when the child keeps at 4 years old sticking his fingers in it, because he's gonna keep doing it, even though you tell him not to. So, let's remove it. Let's give an alternative, though, the province has. They have set up a rehab place north of Red Deer. You go in there, and you have full advantage to recover, and they help you. Now, I don't think that anyone should be all that angry about that. But the people who really, and I've talked to several of them, if they've had a loved one that has passed because of drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, they're pretty adamant. They're quite often say, "Well, if they hadn't removed that, or if they did more, my son or grandson or granddaughter would be alive." Well, I don't necessarily agree with that theory. I think that there are better ways of helping people recover from their addictions rather than giving more of the same.
It's really difficult when I was buying into the idea of harm reduction to a certain degree as far as I understand the logic of it. I understand the logic of um, okay, well you're not getting them, you know, drugs that are necessarily laced with something, and if they are, they can be saved. But it seemed to affect the neighborhood in downtown in a way that was quite disgraceful in a way. The businesses that were located near to it, um, I think the values of those properties must have dropped like a rock. The customers must have dropped like a rock. I do not want my family going downtown. Right. I don't want my wife taking my kids downtown, walking downtown, storefront shopping. Um, and that's a consistent thing because of the vagrancy and the drug use downtown. And I'm okay with making that judgment for my family because ultimately I'm responsible to protect them. And something needs to be done about the homelessness issue in Red Deer. We've had mayor after mayor after mayor saying I'm going to end homelessness in Red Deer, and it only seems to get worse. I certainly don't have the answer for that. Do you have any thoughts yourself? Because it seems like there's a deeper issue here, and every mayor thinks it's just a money thing. I think it's a, and maybe you'll agree or disagree, but I think it's a spiritual thing. I think it's the culture has really deviated from a path that is righteous in a sense of it used to be good people trying to be good, and now it seems like it's something completely different. Do you have any?
Well, there's a lot of thoughts running through my head. So I
Sure.
was one of those.
Sorry, that was kind of a run on.
I have. I was one of those businesses that was down there. My wife and I had just bought the business um, block away, and then the current government decided they were going to install what they call the safe injection, the NDP. He immediately the influx of people, uh, harassing customers, banging on. So the final straw was my same granddaughter. We were having a appreciation barbecue in the parking lot in front of the building. Here they were coming down the street screaming, "Yeah, we're going to kill you all!" And my granddaughter stood behind me and said, "Papa, are we going to get hurt?" No, not as long as I'm here. You're not. But that was the final straw. We had to move out of that area, and there are a lot of businesses downtown who had to shut their doors and lost their lifetime livelihood. And what did they get out of it? Nothing but abuse. So, is it a spiritual battle? Yeah, I believe it is. I believe that the core of the city and the core of community is family. And when you have it broken to the point society where you can't take your family down into the city center without worrying about whether they're going to be accosted, attacked, or exposed to some uh, pornographic or worse it's situation, that's a terrible slight
Mhm.
on our city. We need to clean it up. And how to clean it up? I don't have all the answers there, but I certainly don't think that this argument that all the services are downtown that they use. No, they're not all downtown. There's a uh, some of the volunteer organizations that actually do work with them who are scattered around the city.
Mhm.
So in my mind, it's where is there a place in this city? And the NIMBY can't come into it because we have to put it into a place where we can manage it.
Mhm.
We have to manage it. You can't just drop it and then walk away and say, "Oh well, you bureaucrats take care of that."
Sure.
You elected people are going to take care of that, or make sure that somebody takes care of that. You're going to monitor it. So where that is, I don't know, but I'm sure I've driven through the old industrial area that lots and lots of buildings are closed. That why not utilize them?
Sure.
And I think, to be clear, the provincial government has a lot of responsibility here. The city doesn't have the finances to do all of this. It's not possible. The province, sure, they might remove the injection site, but there's a whole lot more to do. That was just a first step. Now, putting in the rehab center on the north side of Red Deer, that's another step. But there's a bunch more steps that have to go into that for housing and locating, looking after. And so the other part about this too, there's people here who are in the criminal element, who are supplying the drugs, who are bringing the drugs in from wherever, who are selling the drugs. We're not doing anything about that, and I'm told by law enforcement they can arrest anybody anywhere in the city or anywhere with possession and enough to say they're a trafficker. And they go before the court and they're out the door before they can get the paperwork finished.
Is that
Yeah.
is that
Well, what's wrong with that?
do you support a municipal force?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even with the cost, because I think
But,
it's
but
six,
that,
$7 million or something like that.
that whole thing is just a red herring for those who don't want to change. And that's the problem with this city and so many things the council.
I could be wrong. I think the province is actually covering a lot of that cost right now. I think
Yes,
they
they
did
are.
that for Grand Prairie. I don't see why they couldn't do that for Red Deer. Isn't the federal government doing away with the RCMP? I thought that's like nationwide.
I don't
I
know.
could be wrong, but I believe that there was a reduction of
Oh, there
RCMP
is. Yeah.
services, and they're trying to make it more into the FBI of the North.
Yeah. I believe that is the general thrust of it. but that's a long road. It isn't that long. Listen, the premier was in Calgary this past week and announced a provincial police force, basically, named a chief. And she said, any other municipality that wants to participate, come and see us. That'll be the first stop for me because this idea that it's going to cost too much money is just wrong. So anybody that actually knows anything about um, financing and looks at it will know that it's better. We will have boots on the ground. This city police force will be controlled by the citizens of the city. The commission will be made up of our citizens. And when we ask for 20 officers to be on the pavement, walking our streets, or riding a bike, or on a quad, or whatever it takes to make the city properly policed, that's what we're going to do. And as far as the emergency services in this city, I think it's absolutely shameful what's going on. You know, these things. If there's a union involved in the group that is dissatisfied, I've negotiated with the IWA and steelworkers all over Western Canada, and I have never yet not come to an agreement that was satisfactory and everybody could live. That's what needs to happen here. Stop this trying to be the guy on top.
One thing with the emergency services that I just don't understand is the amount of overtime that they're allocating. I know there's more to it than, there's always two sides of the story. I believe that they're in arbitration now, so it seems like a lot of people are fighting over, what will ultimately be a judge's decision or whatever, however that works. But it is odd to me where it's like, $3.5 million of overtime when they're asking for, half dozen more firefighters to relieve this. You would think that that would stop some of this overtime and it would be a wash. Like that's one thing that I just don't understand when I'm looking from a top view. I don't understand how it's like, well, let's lessen the overtime, put more people in these services so we don't have to call in. And I mean, overtime is more expensive than just
Yeah.
regular time. So I know firefighters are generally paid well in the city. At least I'm pretty sure. But I don't care how much you're paid. You don't want to be working 80 hours a week
Oh,
um, on a very low stress, but then extremely stressful job, right? And if you're going to many accidents and PTSD that's involved in that, I don't get it. So
well, you're right. Now, I don't know if this is binding arbitration or not, but if it isn't, then chance of success, unless both sides are willing and the city doesn't have any money now, how are they going to increase wages? So something to remember, um, and as mayor, when within the operations of the city, we have a lot of not a lot, but we have the normal amount of people retiring and people who need to retire because of whatever it is, personal issues or physical or mental or whatever it is. And we're not really allowing that to happen in the right way. So I think that that's one of the things. When we're looking at operating costs, if somebody retires through natural attrition as it goes on, we don't necessarily need to replace them. There is technology in this world that can do a lot of things, and we need to look at that. Now, for every new hire, and this is something that most people forget to think about. So if you bring on a new hire, that person is hired for 25 years. Their pension is another 25 years. The city and taxpayers are obligated. That's 50 years for every employee. Now, can we do that better? Can we put, without firing a whole bunch of people, giving a whole bunch of pink slips, can we let attrition do the job? Everybody is taken care of in that respect already, and use some technology. Use some advanced methods.
well, and government's always the last to qualify
Uh,
for technology.
Art. So for myself, you know, being a hands-on person, technology has allowed me as a manager, whatever level, to me be more involved with the process of. And when you have technology, machinery, or whatever it is put in practice, you have a better running organization that costs less. And everybody, you can expand if you're spending all your money on archaic ideas, you're not gaining anything. Now look at we spending over $11 million on a bridge and over $5 million on a golf course, and we got a $17 million deficit. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Our deficit wouldn't be there.
Sometimes you just gotta grin through it all, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this city has a lot of great points. Bowers Ponds. You can go there with your family in the wintertime and the summertime and really have a great time. That's a Yeah, it's an attraction. You can go on our trails, riding or walking or whatever. You can go to our river and go fishing, go boating, canoeing, whatever it is. Those are all attractions. Look at our city hall. Our garden behind city hall is second to none. Like it's a fabulous place. And people go there and they have their lunch and city hall workers lunch there.
Yeah, we always make it down there for the Christmas lights.
Yeah, this city has such potential. It's being wasted because we're chasing projects that don't need to be chased. We shouldn't be involved in the development of land like capstone, timber. Those things are we don't have the pockets for that.
The thing that drives me crazy with the city development is that we have an ideal of, okay, we need affordable housing. The government needs to be part of affordable housing. And so the city develops land. And what do? They put up lots that are $350,000 for a lot, right? They have barely any affordable housing in their development. And then they throw up capstone, which I think they spent 20 some $1 million burying all those lines and repairing that, getting rid of the creosote from the old city yards. And I mean, that's all going to be expensive development too because of the tightness of it, right? The density. So, I it seems like the city never actually follows through on its public ideals. They want affordable housing. Why are you selling lots for $300,000 up in Garden Heights? Like I love that those lots are there. I've worked on some of those homes myself, right? Like great opportunity for builders and all that kind of stuff. If people want to live there, power to them. I want that to happen. But why is the city doing that? Right? Like
Exactly.
it makes no sense. And then every other developer that wants to come in here sees that, and
They're
like,
competing.
why am I competing with the government? I will never win.
No, I agree. And talking about affordable housing, this accelerator fund that they're
Yes.
talking about. You know, the federal government, first of all, has strings tied to that. And so you're going to rip a house out in the middle of the block and put a fourplex up. And if I'm building that, because I do have rental properties, if I'm building that, I need a return. I can't live on 2 and 3%, 4% return. I need to be in 8 to 12%. So when I'm done with that, I'm going to need $2,000 to $2,500 a month for in each rental unit. Now you tell me how affordable that is.
That's your carrying.
That's right.
Right. That's not like,
Exactly.
oh, I'm just trying to get
Yeah.
an extra 8 grand a month for myself. It's your
Yeah.
carrying costs.
That's exactly. So this accelerator fund is nothing but a grab by some people in city bureaucracy to grab 12 million bucks because that's not going to the developer or the people or anything. That's going into city coffers. Now, there's a lot of controversy about that, but that's the fact. It's going to the city. So the city says, "Oh, we need extra money for rezoning, and we need extra money for the people that are going to be inspecting," and on it goes. Well, when you have the right of four, which it is called, and you pass all of this, and somebody comes in next door to you and starts ripping a house down, you have no recourse. You have to allow that because the city has allowed it in their bylaws, and that's one of the strings attached to the federal government.
The housing seller, it's insane. I've really been trying to push
Yeah,
the what's happening,
yeah.
just so people are aware. I think people they don't understand that. I no, I shouldn't say that. I should be fair, but it's just until someone buys the lot next door, tears it down, and puts up four new lots with no parking needed, your life is going to be drastically changed. The value of your lot is going to be drastically lowered. And then I know downtown already has enough problems as far as utilities go because it's very ancient. Right? We still have clay lines some and some spots. And how is downtown going to be able to handle an extra 1,000 or whatever units, an extra 2,000, 3,000 toilets,
Yeah.
right? Bathtub, sinks, dishwashers, all that electric draw. The $12 million, I mean, if it was just a gift as far as, hey, we want you to encourage this. I know some earlier um, places, I believe Airdrie, they got a housing accelerate grant without these conditions. Um, and Red Deer has drastically different conditions. I think the city is asking the minister of federal housing to follow through with, give us what you give Airdrie, give us what you give, which would be encouraging, but we really need to make noise that if they don't, there's no way this is happening. Like I think this it's really weird to me because Red Deer, it's an interesting place because it is kind of divided down the left and right, and even though you know in a municipal sense those can be overused terms, I've never seen a a problem in Red Deer bring people together like this.
You know, what another sad thing about this, the hearings that were being put on uh, for the public to have their input. Well, city employees were sent there, and we were told by some councillors, "Oh, we were told not to go there." Well, that's shameful. If you're elected to represent the city or the citizens of this city, and you're responsible for enacting this legislation through bylaws, then you'd better be there. And if you can't be there, you better have a good excuse why not. And that's what's shameful about this council. There's a few of them have put up minimal resistance to that, but in the end, they're all going along with it basically, and there's no change. So you can't shuffle this off onto blaming Ottawa or the citizens. City council has control here, and they should have killed it.
Absolutely. How do you plan, or how would you, I should say, to spur on that economic growth to encourage people that Red Deer is a great place to live without destroying our unique sort of place, right? I know Danielle Smith wants 1 million people in Red Deer, kind of a dream in a sense. I don't think a lot of Red Deerians want that necessarily. I see Danielle's point as far as we are naturally going to grow, but how do we grow in a way that isn't going to destroy Red Deer? Because I feel like a lot of the answers from government is going to be things like that housing accelerator fund, except just in a different part of the city, right? So, do you have any ideas on that?
Well, let's put this in perspective first. So in central Alberta, Sylvan Lake, Black Falls, the Combe, um, are all outstripping Red Deer in development and affordable housing. Here's Red Deer sitting in the middle that really is the central hub of Alberta. And we're standing around twiddling our thumbs, refurbishing bridges and golf courses. There right now is a businessman setting up in Concert, I think it is, a plant for prefabbed homes, and he's going to build prefab those homes, and they can come. And I have built these, so I know you can put that house up closed into the weather 2 days. So talk about affordable housing. All of those housings, and I'm going to say that that housing, if we were to develop, get a developer to accommodate that, and the city got rid of the red tape that that is an absolute disaster, and they could develop those lots at a more reasonable rate, and we have prefab homes that we can set on that, 1,000 to 1,500 square foot, you know, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. We could make that affordable. And here in Alberta, we build houses. We're not asking for somebody to come in from out of the country where I hear that some Chinese outfit can build homes, prefab homes, and bring them in here and put them up for $100,000. Oh, no, they can't because it just the tariff alone would kill it. So let's be real here. We need developers to come in here, get rid of the red tape because, and what is so annoying, and I've had it happen to me, um, when you're building here in Red Deer and you're going by the building code, and you have a building inspector come along and he's the electric, and he's, oh, you got to change this, but the rest of it looks good. Next day, another one comes along and says, "What are you doing?" I had one come in there and tell me, "You can't have those extension cords for your 2 freezers." Why not? Is it illegal? Well, no, it's not, but I don't like them. Yeah. So I said, too bad. I have a green sticker on my box that says our electrical is up to code and passed. So you know what you can do? You could go out that door and have a nice day. So those are the kinds of things that are happening that are really frustrating the builders and people who are renovating. Is you can get 2 different inspectors, 3 different inspections that interpret it wrong differently, and that's part of the issue here. And because the bylaws and the red tape within the bylaws is so broad and open to interpretation, they can do that. You have no recourse. You I complained about some stuff. I was told, "No, the inspector is in charge of his site, so you have to follow him." And so you can understand then why we have businesses selling out, moving to Gasoline Alley, for instance, where I've talked to the mayor of the county, Jim Woods, and some councillors, and they're happy to have 'em. Sure, they have issues from time to time, but when I've had developers and builders say to me, "No, we Gasoline Alley," they come and say, "What can we do for you? Can we help you out?"
I cannot believe how fast that I don't know what the area is called, but that community in Gasoline Alley went up.
Oh,
There are hundreds of homes there.
yes. My granddaughter's apprentice carpenter there, and so I get to hear about it all the time.
It's one of those things you look over and it's like, what is happening? And
So
it's no wonder.
that's so the builder there, the developer that she worked for, he decided one day, it's the basement isn't ready yet on this unit, so let's prefab. They prefab that entire house from scratch in 4 days. So it just goes to show you that if you have good organization and a plan and a budget and you follow it, you're going to be successful. And that's what the city needs. Is they need a proper plan, a proper budget, and the fences around it, and the KPIs, and they'll be successful. But not this current council. They don't seem to be able to do that. And they haven't done it in the last 12 years anyway. Our so our operational costs are have gone up in the last 10 years 4.9% on our
Oh,
income is 2.9%.
well, and we just had the 10% famous tax increase,
10.22.
and that was building on last year's tax increase, which was, I believe, six or around
Yeah,
six.
6.1.
And I saw a document a couple years ago, and I'm trying to get the information out where over 5 years, the administration's plan was 45% tax increase over 5 years. And
Oh,
we're well on our way. And I do not
oh, yeah.
see with the
I haven't
current
seen it
planning
yet.
how we're going to avoid that.
No, when you go and ask questions of city council, they don't have answers. And I've watched city council and been there, city council meetings. The city managers ask a question and people that work for the city are sitting to her left. And so she refers to them, which is rightly so. But they don't have the answers either quite often.
How much do you think city councilors need to have the answers in a sense?
Well, I think that if they're debating a bylaw,
Yeah,
they need to have all the answers.
sure.
They need to know the the material behind the line.
Let me ask you a question. This might be out of left field. Do you think right now council's considered part-time, 25 to 30 hours a week? Do you think we need a full-time council?
I think that we do, but we're going to have difficulty under this municipal structure doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But absolutely, um, if you don't run a corporation or a business by part-time managers, unless you're in a very small business,
Hmm.
we're the city council right now is passing all or most of the really um, tough decisions off to the bureaucrats
Yeah.
because number one, there lots of them have full-time jobs.
Hmm.
They don't have time to do the research. So in that sense, I think that we should have at least some of the positions full time.
Yeah.
And my preference would be that those full time positions have sectors within the city management operations oversight on it
Uh-huh.
and be able to go there and say, um, once a week, I want to update on this project. I'm not going to go there and tell you how to do it or direct your
Yeah.
people, but I want an overview and I want to know we're on budget. I want to know we're on schedule. You
And then
have
they
issues,
report back to the broader council.
right? Then
It's kind of like the minister's program, the minister portfolios that they have, right? The
yes,
ministers don't run the day to day,
no,
obviously, but
no,
they get the updates. If there's problems, they're the key person to go to. That's an interesting idea.
yeah,
I've never heard that before. That would be it would it would change the conversation, and I think it would bring a lot more competent people to council.
oh, I think it would too, because it's like anything else. You know, I've hired many a senior manager and many a floor sweeper in my life,
Yeah.
and I've interviewed them all. And I don't necessarily hire the most qualified person all the time. I hire the most um, open and ready to learn person if they have the basics. I don't need the top star. We can train this person to be the rock star.
Sure.
We don't need the rock star off the bat because most of the time, anyway, truthfully, the ego's too big to fit in the room with me.
Sure.
So,
Sure. All right. I had a couple questions on taxation. 10% tax increase. There's no reserve. How realistic is it to have our taxes not necessarily drop, but become reasonable? Like I would love to see them drop, but I would never push someone to say that you need a promise that they're going to drop given the situation that we're in because it's pretty dire. I don't think
yeah,
people
oh yeah,
realize how dire it is.
it is, and you're right. People do not realize how dire it is, and I'm not going to promise I'm dropping reducing taxes until I know the picture. I don't I can't get a straight answer, and they're not going to give me a straight answer. But when I see 11.2 million being spent on a walking bridge and five
But
and a half,
the federal government gave us half, so that's a good deal, right?
oh yeah, so now it's 22 million,
Sure. Yeah.
and now we're spending over 5 million on a golf course, and it's not producing a profit.
Yeah.
So why is the city in the golf course business?
That's a good question.
So why is the city in the development business? Those are all parallel questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of I think projects going on within city that really shouldn't be part of our city agenda. And now a real contentious issue too is the Westerner. You know
Wow.
that
You're going to go there, are you?
the Westerner in my mind is the central draw for this city. So as a city, we need to sell that facility. We don't need to run it. We shouldn't be running it. We shouldn't even have any money in it. But because of the poor management that has been there and the deliverables that were supposed to be there never came. So now the city, rightfully so, had to step in. We couldn't let it go into
Yeah.
receivership. We had to. Now that is can be a world class event for a lot of things. We've got a hockey team. There's a lot of spin-off off that hockey team. We really wanted to facilitate the people who own that hockey team to be able to expand and do more things
Yeah.
on that site. That new pavilion that was built. Really? I think there could have been a lot more um, constructive use of that money. Now, the CFR going away. Now, there's all kinds of stories about that. It was a 10-year agreement.
Yeah.
After 3 years, they left. You talk to them, the folks on that side, the city never delivered. The Westerner never delivered on their side.
Interesting.
So you talk to the people who were responsible to deliver it, they'll tell you, oh no, they just went and got a better deal out of Edmonton. So they moved to Edmonton.
Sure.
Well, part of the issue here, I think, is the I don't know the ins and outs of it, and you're never going to find it out until, and maybe we never will. I don't know. But it seems to me that we could have done a better job showcasing the CFR as a city.
Hmm.
Now, the CFR probably could have done a better job as well. So there's equal responsibility here, I think, where we both fell down on it.
Yeah.
And that should be a lesson learned. And we should be jumping on that lesson and marketing our Westerner as a destination point. Now, we have lots of hotels here in this city that we could be partnering with on all of those events. And whoever comes in with those events gets a preferential rate
Yeah.
from the hotel and their restaurant. Um, Alternative to that, why haven't we explored the idea of having a developer build a big facility out there to accommodate 300 rooms and all the shops out there?
Yeah.
Look at Collicut, world class.
Yeah.
What are we doing with that? Practically nothing. And so those are the kinds of things, and those are the things within Red Deer that are a great resource and a great thing for families. But we're not marketing properly. So, and that's not the bureaucracy's fault because necessarily, in some cases, they bear some blame. Council bears the blame there. They're not giving the directive to the bureaucracy or the city manager to go out and properly showcase.
It seems like such a home run because Red Deer is the tourist destination of Alberta, really. And that sounds kind of silly, but what I mean by that is if you're in Edmonton, if you're in Calgary, where's the best place to host a tournament?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's in Red Deer. Like this should
Costs are
be
a lot less.
a second home
Yeah.
for Calgarians, for Edmontonians, right? Coming down, doing their tournaments, coming down, doing their get-togethers. Provincial AGMs for political parties often happen in Red Deer, just because of the central nature. It shouldn't. It seems like it shouldn't be that hard. I don't know why it feels like it is. So
Well, I think that part of the problem within politics and within corporations is there's certain individuals that get this big ego and they got
yeah,
these little kingdoms going. And I don't think there's any difference here in Red Deer in the bureaucracy. There are little kingdoms. And you're not coming into my kingdom. I'm running this. And
oh,
even though there needs to be cooperation between, and there is overlap, I'm sure, all through bureaucracy. Because my last 15, 20 years of senior management was cleaning companies up, making them profitable again.
hmm,
And that made hard decisions. But we didn't just fire people. We offered people alternative training. looked for other positions in other companies for them, or took early retirement and bridged them over. There are all kinds of ideas, but we're not doing it. We're growing
Yeah.
instead of maintaining and reducing. So
Just seems to be a denial,
absolutely.
right?
Now, why would you give up your $250,000 a year job managing some department? And somebody says, "Oh, well, you got to reduce all this," and all of a sudden you're seeing, well, maybe they're going to reduce my wage too.
Hmm.
Well, if you have less responsibility and less of a budget, that's how it works. They're taking less. You need to take less. So, um, yeah, I I think that every single person, and there are some great people working for this city, and we see it every day. And I don't care if you're sweeping the street or you're the city manager, you're just as important as a city manager. Because if you go in a restaurant and there's no waitresses or cooks, what are you going to eat?
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to eat nothing.
For sure.
And if we don't look after the people who are working for the city properly and recompense them properly, then they're going to walk away and you're going to be walking in snow in the street and you're going to have no lights. So let's be reasonable here. Let's think about a proper plan.
And I'm always grateful for the city employees that do the snow sweeping
Yeah,
or whatever you call it, the street cleaning.
yeah,
Like there's much that goes on in the city behind the scenes,
yeah,
but it's those are the people that if it's not done, yeah, we're yelling and complaining and all that kind of stuff. That's a managerial thing. But when it is done, it's something that you almost take for granted how difficult that is, how skilled those workers are
yes,
to run that heavy machinery. I could not get into a machine like that and just do it, right? And so those are the unsung heroes, really. And I think everyone in the city just wants more of that in a sense. Less of the oh, we got 15, 20 managers over here in this building that no one ever hears about, doesn't know what they do. More of they can see the work being done. Everyone, when they started mowing the grass again 2 weeks ago, I saw so many comments of, oh, the dandelions have finally been mowed, right? And it's
yeah,
it's a frustration when your taxes go up 10% and then you stop seeing those things happening and your services are reduced, right? And even something as simple as clearing the back alley would go a huge way just
oh,
to make people be like, okay, like I can afford that 10% tax increase in a crazy way, because if that back alley wasn't cleared, I wouldn't be able to go to work today.
yeah,
That would be a loss. Um, yeah.
yeah. Well, one of my friends had a novel idea today. He said, "Gareth, when you get to be mayor, how about if one of the ways to reduce taxes possibly would be to have the community street cleanup group,
Uh-huh.
where we all get a broom and we go out and we sweep the gravel off the sidewalk and we take it and we put it into a wheelbarrow and we put it into a dumpster and it gets hauled away."
Sure.
Novel idea.
Oh, but that's illegal. You're doing
Oh
city
yeah,
work.
but
The union would never allow that.
I think that those kinds of entrepreneurial and self ideas are part of what we could be doing.
Uh-huh.
And we're not, like you said, oh, gee, you can't do that. Well, why can't I? Tell me why I can't do that, why the citizens can't look after their own streets.
Yeah, I
They're
saw I saw someone mention, I think it was on Facebook, same idea, just with mowing their little patch or whatever of
yeah.
of playground.
And in the U.S., there are several small cities who actually do that. And their taxes are lower and lower.
Uh-huh.
So, we have come in this country to believe that we're owed something as a bureaucratic bureaucracy, that we have a lifetime job and we don't really have to listen to the citizenry. And
Uh-huh.
I'm really talking about the management of the bureaucracy, not the guy who's out sweeping the street, but the bureaucracy. And I think that we all need to take a step back and take a look at life. Families make up backbone and the center of society. And right now, we're advocating our responsibility as leaders in families and as families, and we're allowing elected people to advocate the responsibility we're giving them to look after it. So we need to stand up and hold them accountable. And if you're not going to do what we say, then step aside and let somebody who is going to do the right thing and get it done.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm all for community involvement and community, you know, neighborhood barbecues and all that stuff. I mean, we used to do that.
Not so much anymore.
No,
It's I don't know if it's a generational thing or
I think
what it
some of it
is.
probably is.
I can speak for myself. I never had that experience, so I don't know what that looks like. And I think many that are my age and younger would probably agree with that, where it's just like we need to practice that, right? It's easy to be good neighbors and say hello and all that kind of stuff, but it's really difficult to practice it
Yeah,
and to get better at it. Um, and that's really what I think we need your generation to teach us that again,
yeah,
almost, right?
yeah,
Because I can tell you we have lost it, right? And it is once you have it again, though, like once you have a meaningful conversation with a neighbor, it's like, oh, maybe this is something that we can continue. This is something I should continue, right? Um, well, thank you for talking to me.
Well,
I really appreciate it. Is there anything that you want people to take away from this conversation and just, to finalize a final thought or
well, I really would like people to get involved in the process of this campaign, this municipal election, by going out and participating
Mhm.
in town halls and asking questions and getting involved so you make an informed decision in the ballot box. And you need to vote, regardless of how you vote. You need to vote.
Yeah,
That's your responsibility because if we don't vote, then we get the outcome that we don't want. And so, voting for me, you're actually voting for a new voice. And I will be the best choice that you can make. And I will do everything within the power of the office and council to make this city better.
awesome. Well, I think you'll make a great mayor, Gareth.
Thank you.
So, do you have any socials or you have a website up?
I have a website up and X and Twitter and all of that good stuff. And you just got to go there. And if you feel like donating, there's a button there for that as well. And volunteering, absolutely.
Awesome. All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you again, and we're out.